Hi, I'm Miranda and this is Joel, and we are from the Vancouver Vineyard, and we wanted to make a video to encourage you that you can do a Seder every year in your own home to celebrate Passover with your family and maybe even with your community group and friends.
So what is a Seder? Seder goes back to the time when Israel was in Egypt and the story of God sending Moses to rescue the Israelites out of Egypt in the book of Exodus. And so the Jewish people celebrated Passover from that time until today. And something that's caused us as a church to think that this is an important part of Holy Week is that, you know, we talk about communion and the Last Supper, and that was actually a Passover meal that Jesus was leading his disciples through. So this is just a really unique and interesting way to sort of like enter into the story of what Jesus was leading his disciples through, and also what God was leading Israel through as they were brought out of Egypt. The festivals that God had for his people are both remembering what he's done in the past and also sort of prophetically casting the story that they are going to live out into the future as well.
So you can plan your Seder to happen anytime in the week before Easter. We like doing it on Thursday because it's a really nice lead in to Good Friday and Resurrection Sunday. You can do this as like just a private meditation where you read through the Haggadah, or it can be a full like holiday meal, very extravagant, or just a simple meal. So there's lots of flexibility in how you create your own Seder.
And Miranda mentioned a Haggadah, which is basically just sort of the guidebook of the sort of ceremony of the Seder. And the church has a couple of different versions of that. So there are a lot of printed Haggadahs, and you can get physical copies of better booklets that you can leaf through. We also have a PDF that's a little bit more streamlined and a little bit more translated for kind of who our church is, that the church can email to you, or we may have it available on the website. It's a way to enact and engage with the story, and it's pretty much just a script. So if you read through the Haggadah and you've never done it before, it will take you sort of step by step through the meal. I find it's helpful to just go in kind of expecting to trip up and stumble along the way and not quite know what you're doing at the beginning. And that makes it kind of fun. Like part of the centrality of the meal is it being a meal where you're remembering and where people are free to engage through questions. And so sometimes the mistakes actually lead to really good questions. So what do you need to have a Seder meal? Kind of central to the table is the Seder Plate. So in the middle of the plate, you'll have a little dish or a glass or a cup of water, and just sprinkle some salt in there so that it's salt water. You'll need something that represents a lamb bone, and I think the church has some bones. If you want to borrow one, you can draw a picture of a bone and put it on the plate. It will also be surrounded with a hard-boiled egg, a sweet sort of dessert mixture called haroset with apples and raisins and nuts and wine. There will be horseradish, and you can use a leafy green, you can use an herb, you can use parsley, you can use kale. And all of those things are sort of spelled out in the Haggadah, and it tells you what to do with each one of them. And then the other thing that's important is matzah. And so it's good to have multiple boxes so that everybody has kind of as much matzah as they want. And a special section, you'll take 3 pieces of matzah and wrap them in a cloth and have them on a plate somewhere. And when the Haggadah tells you to, you take out the middle piece and you break it, and you get another cloth and you wrap it up and you hide it. This is one of those sort of like bizarre, inexplicable parts of the Passover meal that evolved through time, that really call out the messianic symbolism of Christ and who he is and what he's done. But there are plenty of Jewish Passovers where this is just explained as a mystery. And then there are messianic Jewish Passovers where they will sort of say like, it's pointing to Christ, this is what this is. So this is fun. This is called the afikomen, the broken matzah. you have the kids at your table cover their eyes and you hide it someplace, and then you later in the meal, after the dinner is done, they go and they try to find it, and then you redeem the hidden afikomen for a prize that can be money or a candy bar or chocolate or whatever. But that's a fun way for the kids to be involved in the meal too.
You'll need wine or juice, and lots of it. Everyone will need 4 glasses or whatever amount you're gonna drink, and a candle, and also a big basin with water and some towels for hand washing. If you want to do foot washing, that's a fun way also for kids to just, get into it. However, this is all integrated with a meal, and so there's recipes and things that you can look up to make that meal, so long as it doesn't involve leavening or yeast or lamb.
That
right?
seems to become most tricky with the dessert, to not have a leavened dessert.
So one of the biggest questions about preparing for Seder is what do you do with the kids? This is actually a really awesome way to do any kind of church or religious education, because it's very tangible and hands-on and all about storytelling and having fun. The night before the Seder, one of the cool things you can do is have the kids search all around the house for anything with leaven, because leavening or yeast is one of the things that represents sin in our lives. And so that is traditionally what Jews would do, would be to clean the house entirely of leaven. So we will sprinkle little breadcrumbs around the house and have the kids clean them up for us, or hide and seek for them, and then burn them in a fire, and so that's pretty fun. There are many readings, and some of them specifically for children to ask questions, and so if you have kids who are able to read, they've got a job to do. That's part of the Seder. Finding the afikomen after the meal.
Traditionally, you would set an empty place for Elijah, who is going to come back. And so at the end of the meal, you have a child open the door and look out for Elijah and see if Elijah's at the door. But just overall, the whole meal is a story. So put on your storytelling hat. The best Seders that we have been really open to questions and dialogue. I usually preface the whole meal just saying, if anybody has any questions at any point throughout the meal, feel free to bring them up, and I may not know the answer, but we can talk about it, and that's what this is for. So there's no such thing as an interruption, there's no such thing as a bad question, and it's an amazing story. So just tell the story.
And it all points back to Jesus. So have fun with your Seder.